Hello and welcome to Catch Up with the Community Church. It's so amazing to have you join us today. Whether you're one of our regular members or you've just stumbled across us online, you're super welcome. And we hope you get a lot out of today's sermon. And we have Joshua Robinson preaching to us today. This was a youth service. It was also Mother's Day. So it'll be a great listen. So I hope you enjoy it and get a lot out of it. Before we get into that, our Easter events were announced this Sunday. So make sure to check out our socials to see what's going to be coming up. But now, let's get on with the preach.
I just want to pray for Josh before he delivers his service. I pray, Lord, that you open our minds and hearts to what he's about to say, Lord. I pray, Lord, that everyone in here will leave having learned something new. I pray, Lord, that you give Josh the courage to deliver what he wants to say to deliver what he wants to say and be able to communicate it properly to everybody. I pray, Lord, that he's able to touch everybody's hearts. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Thank you very much, Shikemi. Hello everyone. Some of you sound like you've been forced here against your will. Hello everyone. That's a bit better. Okay. Last time I checked, there were some formatting errors. Are they still here? Yeah, they're still here. So sorry, some things might be a bit difficult to read because fonts, as you can see, are a bit bigger than I intended for them to be. And I would also like to formally apologise to any graphic designers who are watching this and probably cringing behind their fingers. Because... let's just get into it then. Okay, so our topic is Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 to 20. He's 26, actually. You can't see it, but we're going to start with verses 17 to 20. Just get it up on my phone. Okay. Now, it's not... oh, that's great, isn't it? Okay, I'll read it from my phone. It says, Jesus says, this is during the Sermon on the Mount, he says, "Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So, if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Now, for those wondering when the Mother's Day will come into this preach, we'll get there. But this is obviously referring to the Ten Commandments. I'm assuming most of you know what the Ten Commandments are. They're the laws that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Now, Jesus talks about teaching people to follow the most minute of laws. Jesus did not come to say, "Hey, you can do this, I'll save you anyway." He's telling you to follow those laws. So he's not here to abolish them. They're still relevant, always. And we're always to teach others to follow every other law. This is what God commands us. And I'm going to be honest, none of us have really done that well. I haven't done it well. I don't think really anyone has done it to the level that God commands. Because, well, the world's in a broken state and we're all sinners. And the Pharisees mentioned there, they got it really wrong. And so, as to why the Pharisees got it wrong, let's have a brief interlude with this really horrible transition I made. Again, apologies to graphic designers. I put a lot of work into that. I don't know how a tie works. That'll do. Okay. This is somewhat of a game show format. I'm going to have a few people, a few unwilling volunteers. Hands up if you'd like to volunteer. Point to someone who you'd like to volunteer. I see a lot more hands. Oh, we have a volunteer. Okay. Now, as you can see from the question, I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to tell me what you would do. Now, as a bully at school that's been really horrible to you, probably hit you, called you nasty names, what do you do?
Tell a teacher.
Very well. Good answer. An adult in the room. Point to an adult you want to volunteer. Here we go. Okay. Sorry for putting you on the spot. You're all right. Okay. Let's say a boss at your job has been really mean to you, is made you feel really unwelcome, and made your place really horrible to work. What do you do?
I'll report to the management.
Report to management. And what if the management doesn't do anything?
Oh, I'll just leave him to God.
Pray about it? No, that's a very good answer. Thank you very much. Apologies for putting you on the spot. Right, third one. Yeah, Dad, why not? Okay. You applied for a promotion at a job, and you really think you're going to get it, but someone who you thought didn't deserve it got the promotion, and they're being really pretentious about it, gloating, making the workplace a bit horrible. What do you do?
I'm going to pray about it, Josh.
Anything else?
I might ask them to stop gloating, perhaps.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Okay. Another young person. Again, if you want to point to someone who you want to volunteer, go ahead. Oh, we have a hand up. Okay. Someone took all the nice biscuits in the biscuit tin, and you know who did it. What do you do?
I might cry.
You might cry. Do you do anything else? Ask for more biscuits. Anything to the person? Be disappointed in them. Okay. Very well. Anyone this time? Doesn't matter how old they are. No, William, we've already done it. I tell you what. Let's do Josh Lepage on the desk at the back. This might hit a little close to home. Someone keeps beating you at the board game. What do you say to them?
Well, I take credit because I've trained them so well, and say you're welcome. I think that's what I'd say.
Fair enough. Okay. Now this is the most important one, and I'm going to come to David here. Someone openly mocks you for being a Christian and is being really disrespectful about it. What do you say to them, and what do you do?
I would start to ask them what they believe and why they believe it, and start to really see if we can get a discussion about why they are mocking me. And if it doesn't go anywhere, then I just bless them and move on.
That was a fantastic answer. Can we give everyone who I put on the spot a round of applause? Now, everyone here has done very well. They've got practically all the answers correct, actually. Again, very sorry for putting you on the spot. But have you ever had it where someone's been horrible to you and you just think, oh, I wish that person didn't exist. I hate that person. Or you just want to say something mean to them back. It happens. And the Pharisees had the wrong idea with this because, well, they spend a lot of time, how do I put this? Sort of putting on other people saying, oh, you're a sinner, you can't do this, or we're more righteous than you. Neglecting to forget the fact, they neglected the fact that they actually didn't follow all the laws. They often forgot some of the smaller ones and didn't really teach others to follow those laws either. Now let's have another illustration. Anyone know what that is? That is the National Portrait Gallery in London. Very nice. Now, I've been there a couple times. It's a really nice building, actually. There's a lot of impressive paintings in there. Now, treat the world like an art gallery. Treat all of us as God's masterpieces, proudly on display. Now, let's take the commandment, you shall not murder, because this will be important for later. Imagine imagine murdering someone was, in this case, going to a piece of art, not that one, going to a piece of art, like this, for example, and that's what it is, really. You're kind of just tearing it up, and, well, the damage can be really bad. And I'll pick that up later. So tearing up the paper can be quite bad. But let's go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 to 26. This is the next part of Jesus' teaching. He says, "You have heard that our ancestors were told, 'You must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment.' But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell." So that's quite a heavy passage, but it's an important one, because sometimes when you think about what you've done, I hear people saying, "Well, I'm not a murderer, so I'm fine." Or, "Oh, that's a murderer, he can't be redeemed. I'm not a murderer, so I'm fine." But again, have a think. Have you ever thought that you wish someone, either wish harm on them, cursed them, wish they were dead, anything, thought anything bad about someone, or were angry with them, unrightfully? Then, in other words, you've gone to the curator of the museum and told him to tear up the painting himself. And that curator is God. And again, you might think, "Oh, well, that person doesn't know I thought this." But God does. God knows you've said that about his masterpiece. And, well, it doesn't really, that's not nice for someone to hear. Imagine you painted a beautiful picture, and then you realised everyone hated it and was thinking, "Oh, we might as well rip that up, that's rubbish." It's horrible for them. Yes, murder is wrong. He's not saying murder is wrong. Obviously, you shouldn't murder, ever. But even anger against someone else is just as sinful, because you're basically wishing the same thing. And there's the scripture, but again, you might as well have torn them up anyway. And yeah, you might have tape. What about tape? Tape. I don't know, that seems pretty noticeable to me. Like, yeah, you can tape someone up, but they're not going to be fully healed. This worked better in my head. They're not going to be fully healed. I wonder how long that will last. God knows what you think about people. If you are angry with someone, you're damaging them anyway. The person might not know, but God does. God's looking at his art gallery and thinks, "Someone's ripped that up." And yes, they could be healed, but your consequences, the consequences for your actions are, well, pretty much permanent. Again, like that piece of paper. It's one piece of paper, but you can tell it's been ripped. And again, God will heal whatever damage is done against you. But you need to remember, you might not have murdered someone, but you've damaged people as well. Okay, so here's the truth. And what better way to illustrate the truth with some rubbish PNGs and some animations? You might have seen this sort of illustration before with a cliff, and there's a person trying to jump it. This person could be anyone. It could be the person sitting on your right. He's trying to jump it. He's on his own. He thinks he can make it. He thinks I haven't murdered anyone. Again, look inside his heart. He's had horrible thoughts towards other people before. Everyone has. It will happen. And thus, there he goes. He won't make it. Ever. Everyone's done that. Everyone's jumped and fallen. Now this is where Jesus comes in. And again, you might have seen this sort of illustration before, but this is like, nobody can do this on their own. Anyone who's tried to do it on their own has fallen. And the consequences of falling off a cliff are quite large. But with Jesus there, anyone can come through to the other side. Now, you might have noticed I use a picture of someone in chains. That's anyone, even a murderer. Even a murderer. So you might think that you're better than someone because you haven't done this particular sin. But while one person might be in physical chains or literal chains, you might neglect your spiritual chains. Again, those thoughts you have towards other people, they weigh you down. Again, you've just ripped up someone. God knows that. There's no getting away from that fact. Someone like Jonah who tries to run from God, you see how that ends up. Whereas if you come to God in chains, be it literal or metaphorical or spiritual, or because we've sinned, we're also loved. And thus the chains will break. God will break those chains. Jesus will break those chains with his death. So that's why Jesus came. Jesus didn't come to just save the people who murdered. He came to save everyone, including the person sitting to your right, the person sitting to your left, the person behind you, anyone. Now, it's time for a brief segment about the Beatitudes. You might be wondering why I've brought this in, but stick with me. This will be very important later. You might have seen these before. You might know some of them. You might not. But here they all are. For example, I'll give you just like one of the most important ones. God blesses those who are poor and realizes their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Just put a mental pin in that one, and God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. They will be very important later on. Okay, let's have a quick look at forgiveness. This, using my phone, if it works. Here we go. Okay, let me read this passage for you. This is during Jesus' crucifixion. One of the criminals who hanged railed at him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving due reward of our deeds. But this man, he has done nothing wrong." And he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." Just to be clear here, that's a criminal. That's someone who deserves to be killed for their crimes under Roman law, or someone who's being punished justly. Now, quick question to all the children here. What's the punishment for sin? I heard someone say death. That is the correct answer. Should we give them a round of applause, whoever said that? Okay, this person, he was a criminal. Again, someone who was punished justly. But here's where the difference is he knows why God's there. He knows that God's come to save people. He was telling Jesus to remember him when he entered his kingdom. He knew he was being punished for his wrongdoing. He was regretting that. He knew that he needed God, and thus God gives him the kingdom of heaven. He mourns his sin, thus God comforts him. And that's where the Beatitudes come into it. You need to remember here that the punishment for sin is death. If that's not the case, should you not be up on that cross? That shouldn't, in any logical world, that's supposed to be you on there. You're supposed to be paying the penalty for your sins and suffering for turning away from God. But Jesus says, no, I will take your place on that cross. I will give you my life. I will suffer one of the most horrible, horrible execution methods so you can be saved and you don't have to go through what you deserve. Now, would anyone offer to be nailed to a cross to save someone else's life? Show of hands. That's what I expected. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't put my hand up either. Nobody here would realistically probably do that. Their brains would say, no, don't do that. And again, if sin carries the same sentence, we should all be up there. But Jesus is the one person that goes, no, I will take your cross. I will take your place. And he saved that criminal. He still died. He was still killed, but he was in heaven. He was with God for the rest of his life. Now, if he could do that with a criminal, then surely he can do that with you. Now, why would Jesus do this? Why would, again, we did a show of hands, no one would volunteer to go on the cross to save someone else's life. So why would Jesus do it? Because his love for us is just that great. No matter how much you've ripped someone else's piece of paper, no matter how much paper you have ripped, and no matter how much tape you have on you, we're all still God's masterpieces. We're all still pride of place in the gallery. No matter how much tape we've got on us, no matter how many times people rip us up, no matter how many times we've ripped up someone else, either in front of them or to God, we're all proudly on display. Keyword, all. Again, if you say to someone, oh, you're a murderer, you're beyond redemption, then have a think at what you're really saying about them. Because they're still one of God's masterpieces. Again, would you go to the curator of an art gallery and tell them to rip up and burn one of their most prized paintings, even if you don't like it? And this isn't just murderers. This is anyone. This is bullies, annoying bosses, is at work, someone who beats you at board games. Josh. It's anyone. They're all human. You have sinned as well. That doesn't make you able to judge others. So, even criminals can be saved. Even criminals can come to God. Bullies, bosses, again, anyone can come to God, no matter how much they've wronged you or wronged others. Now, this is what we mean when we say unconditional love. God loves even the person who's committed the worst crimes. If that person turns to God, even in their last moments on earth, they are saved. And this is really hard to visualize. This is almost impossible to think about in a full scale. If you try it, it won't work. But there is a really good example. Now, I'm not actually going to put the picture up yet. Instead, any mothers, please stand up. Yes, sorry, I'm putting you on the spot again. I know you've stood up before, but this is your example. A mother will love their child unconditionally, no matter what they do, no matter what they break, no matter how many sleepless nights they get. They will keep loving their child, no matter how much difficulty they can get as a result. And this is what points us to Christ, because Jesus died for you. And Jesus died for everyone. Most people don't love him back. Most people still insult him, still tear his portrait up. But he still loves everyone and will still redeem anyone, no matter what they've done, no matter what horrible things they've done to you or anyone else. And a mother does that also, because have a think. Any children here, or just anyone, have a think. Have you ever done something wrong to your mother? Have you ever wronged your mother in any way? Everyone should think yes, even adults. Believe me, they've done wrong things before, children. And yet, does your mother still love you? There you go. And yet, how often, other than this one day of the year and maybe their birthday, how often do you actually thank them? I'm going to put my hands in the air. I don't do it enough either. This is the closest thing I think we have to the love of Jesus. Obviously, it's not perfect. Mothers are still human, and they will still make mistakes. But a mother's love is something special, and so is Jesus. And a mother's love really does point you in the right direction. So what should we do knowing this? First of all, know that we're all sinners. You've done stuff wrong. Just be honest with yourself. You have. You can sit down, mothers, by the way. I'm not making you stand up for the whole service. Except you can stand up again. We're all sinners. We've all done stuff wrong. That's not going to change. And that's not going to change. You can't just suddenly snap your fingers and boom, you're perfect. You're going to, if you leave today thinking, oh, this has truly blessed me, this has truly changed my life, great. You're still going to sin. That's going to happen. You're still going to be tempted. And your mind will still follow that temptation. Why? Because we live in a broken world. But here's where the Beatitudes come into it. God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. That's not just mourning people, losing people. That is definitely got part to do with it. If you mourn the loss of someone, God will comfort you and lead you through that difficult time. But if you also mourn your sin, apologize, show regret for your past actions, a desire to change, even if you have the somewhat, even if you know that there's a chance you might still sin again, showing that drive to repent, to be better, to be more like the image of God that we are made to be, then God will comfort you, no matter how much you've sinned, even if it's murder. Forgive others as well. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. How can you expect God to forgive you if you don't forgive the other people around you that are also God's masterpieces? Again, no matter what they've done. The amount of times I've heard from people, oh, I can't forgive him, he's a murderer, oh, he's done this to me, I'm not going to forgive him for that. From Christians and atheists and other people of other religions. Everyone, I've heard all sorts of people say it. And I think, right, you can't forgive that person. So, and especially if it's said by someone who's a Christian. Because then I think, well, then how do you expect God to forgive you? You've sinned. You've done stuff wrong. Maybe not to the degree they have. But you've done another great sin of not forgiving that person. Not forgiving one of God's creations. One of God's masterpieces. And again, you're saying you should rip them up. In other words. Again, how is God supposed to forgive you now? By forgiving others, God will be more than happy to forgive your sin. Again, he died for your sin. This is how much he wants to forgive you. But he can't show mercy unless you show it to others. And no, God's there. This is hard. Forgiving others is hard. I'm not going to pretend it's a walk in the park. But God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. But it's hard, right? Like, show of hands, who finds forgiving hard? Really hard. Again, when I asked all you people those questions of what you would do, maybe you'd do them, but what would you think you would want to do? What would you want to do? What's your mind telling you should do? I know my mind's telling me that I should go and basically insult that bully back or hit him. And again, that's just as sinful as doing it, because God knows what you think. And forgiving others is hard. Yes, very hard. One of the hardest things. God's there. He'll show you forgiveness if you need it. And he'll give you that as an example. An example you can follow and give to other people so that they may forgive others in their life as well. And that can be through praying to God, asking him for help forgiving someone, asking God to forgive other people, or even sometimes someone else will come to you and help you forgive them, or they'll forgive you. One more thing I want to look at. Right. The last part of Matthew chapter 5, verse 23 to 26 says, so if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple and you suddenly remember someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice at the altar. Where's my thing? Leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifice to God. Thank you. When you are on the way to court, thank you. When you are on the way to court with your adversary, settle your differences quickly. Otherwise, your accuser may hand you over to the judge, who will hand you over to an officer, and you will be thrown in prison. And if that happens, you surely won't be free again until you have paid the last penny. Now, some of that is quite heavy, and it sounds a bit intense, like being thrown in prison until you can't pay the last penny. But it's true. If you don't reconcile with someone, bad things come from it. If you know someone's wronged you, and you think, oh, I don't need to forgive them, you've probably wronged them back. They have just as right to be angry at you. And thus this works, if it, for example, imagine if someone took us to court, it won't work out for both parties. Holding on to pain puts you in a state of dis-ease. Why have I said dis-ease? Well, it's the opposite of ease. It's dis-ease. But it's also something else. It's disease. Holding on to pain is not good. As this rubbish picture with some watermarks will show you, you might as well hold on to a cactus. Now, inside this ominous bag here, I'll finally reveal it to you. Do we have any volunteers to hold this? Not the terranium, the actual cactus. Anyone want to hold this? Yes, I can see you shaking your head. No, I get, okay. I thought that nobody in their right mind would come here and physically hold that willingly and not let go of it. So why would you not let go of what someone's done against other people? Why would you not reconcile with someone else? It's ridiculous. It sounds really ridiculous. You're probably thinking I'm crazy, and rightly so, because I probably am, but it's one of the most ridiculous things when you really think about it. I wonder if there's someone in your life that's wronged you. I don't know what they would have done. It could have been minor, just slightly annoying you, or it could have been major, maybe breaking something you own. Could even be murder. I wonder I wonder if you really if you've forgiven that person. And if you have, I wonder if you've actually made the effort to go and reconcile with them. Because if you actually take the time, and yes, it can be difficult, or it can sometimes feel like that cactus is physically taped to your hand, but God will help you. In that scenario, you need to look to God. Because if you don't look to God, you're willingly holding on to a cactus. Believe me, you don't want to hold on to a cactus. So, I wonder what would happen if more people in the world decided to let go of their pain, decided to look past what they've done to you, and decided to forgive you. And I wonder what would happen if you decided to forgive them back. I wonder what impact that would have on some people, especially people who aren't Christians. If you've forgiven them for being horrible to you, absolutely horrible, think about how they'll react. There's a video, I'm not going to play it because I don't have it. Josh Lepage once showed it to me. It takes place, it's a bit of a dark video, but I want to share it. It takes place in a murder trial, so very dark, bleak setting. But the relative of the victim, who has just lost his brother, pauses the trial because he wants to go over and publicly forgive, and even hug the murderer. That's a very powerful image. And the murderer was shocked, almost visibly close to tears. And the rest of the people in the courtroom, think how they would have felt watching that. Think what they would have thought, seeing such radical, crazy, unconditional love and forgiveness. Because at the end of the day, we're all God's masterpieces. We're all just the same people. So I wonder what would happen if you did that to just some people who maybe annoyed you, even if they haven't wronged you to the extent that the poor victim's brother in that trial did. I wonder what would happen then. Thank you very much.
We hope you got a lot out of the preach. It was also a lovely tribute to our mums as well. Next week is Big Church, so that's everybody all at our Chafford 100 site, 10:30 a.m. But get there as early as you can to make sure you get a parking space. Goodbye.